Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five, guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five, guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share it with your family and friends, or you can download the Varsity app for free and listen to the show on there. On this episode, we got to talk about the Fiesta Bowl. We got ESPN imploding right in front of our eyes, and we've had some wild bowl games. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round, that's incredible. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this, but you guys are on the forefront of this. And
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Before we go any further, got to give a huge shout out to our friends at Deca Gray Coffee Company. I was down at my parents' for Christmas, and they're not big coffee drinkers, but Jeff, they've got the whole coffee beans in a nice little bowl on the table for a little potpourri kind of deal. The whole house smelling like some good roast to order coffee, Jeff.
That's awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah, but look, you guys know the deal. Deca Gray Coffee Company. It's the best coffee out there, out of this world coffee, roast to order coffee. Visit decagray.com, get you the Group of Five guys game day dark roast. Like I said, roast to order. You click purchase, they roast it, they bag it, ship it directly to your doorstep. Use our promo code GOFG for 10% off plus free shipping. Jeff, I got to bring something up I didn't put on our outline this morning that I was scrolling as I was kind of getting ready this morning. Have you seen, it's now gone kind of viral, the clip of Deion Sanders telling his team not to smoke weed in the hotel? Have you seen the clip?
No, I have not.
Yeah, well, here's the reason I bring this up. And this is where we are in society. And this is where we are in college football right now, because you and I both know you get the weed talk real often. And you also got players all over the roster that can't do it. They can't lay off the weed. They just, I don't know what it is. That's not my mindset, but they can't do it. But I bring this up because, Deion's in the hotel at the bowl game, and he basically says, "Hey, if I smell smoke, like, you're off the team," basically, something like that. Well, we have such a divide in college football right now where the Colorado fans, or stands, as I call them, are like, look at Coach Prime raising men. Unbelievable. Like it's this big thing. And then you have the Colorado haters that are like, ha, 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 you would never see this from a real program. And I'm like, actually, this is probably about 100% true for every program in the country.
Yeah.
Outside of probably the academies.
Yeah.
I would say Liberty, but I don't know.
Well, it's funny because
quarterback seems like he probably indulges.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about it is it's probably somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this happens. This is a frequent issue that we dealt with, over 10 years ago now. I know it still happens today. And then you got the people that are like, "Oh, great job, Coach Prime." Like, no, it's pretty.
He's got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty typical behavior. He's not going above and beyond.
Well, and I bring it up too because I remember in the summer, like I wish I remembered what they were doing, some drill or some film study or something like that, and it was something that again, like we did, everybody does, and it was the same thing. Like these Colorado, these newfound fans are like, nobody else is doing this, and we're like, yeah, everybody else is doing this. And then the Colorado haters are like, what a stupid waste of time. Nobody's doing this. And you're like, yeah, they are. Everybody's doing this. Like it's a program just like all the other ones, except for he's got cameras around him 24/7.
Yeah, it's just one of the things. Like I grew up in the West Coast. I'm a California kid, and like I grew up around it. It's a pretty regular thing, and it's like anything else, there's a time and place for everything if that's your thing. But when you're a scholarship athlete, like can't put it down. I don't know. For me, it was just like, I'm good. Like I can wait for 4 or 5 years while I'm in school getting drug tested, and then I can do once I graduate and I'm a grown adult. Essentially, I can do whatever I want at this point. But still,
especially when you have meetings and the coach walks in there and it's like, hey guys, there might be a drug test on this day. Like, and people still can't do it. But dude, I tell you, man, there's a group of people now that like, and I never really cared for it, but I also like, I never minded like anybody else doing it. It was just whatever kind of, well, I tell you what, it's been starting to bother me a little bit. Like, so we went and did the Christmas light things. We had this place called Callaway Gardens near us. They do a big, supposedly it's the most lights in the US or something like that. I don't know what it is. We go every year. We go and it's like a drive-through thing. You know what I mean? You drive through, they got the Christmas music going, they got fake snow going and all this stuff. And we have the sunroof. We had the kids up out of their car seats sitting up on our lap as we're driving through. And it's like, you roll down the windows and like the car in front of us is like, the whole park smells. And I'm just like, that's where to me, I know this is getting way off topic, Jeff, but that's where to me, it's like, can you not go look at Christmas lights without being high? Like you just have to be high all the time. That's my, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. Like again, do it at your house, whatever, relieve stress, do your thing. But it's like, you really can't go to like a kid's park without getting high first. You literally can't take your kid to a park without getting high first. Anyway, Jeff. So we got to talk about this ESPN, this Kirk Herbstreit, Shannon Sharp beef. I mean, Herbstreit, he last year with his Florida State stuff kind of did this, right? And ESPN, they started planting this seed very early on about, why Florida State shouldn't be in and this and that. And then they really pumped up the SEC at that point. Well, then this year they've like doubled down on it. And everybody knows. I mean, outside of Group of Five or Boise State or whoever fans, like everybody has seen it. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
But then, instead of when Tennessee got smoked, they switched their narrative. They didn't want to talk about how the SEC got blown out, but they wanted to then talk about how the fans were crazy and First Take was crazy for wanting Ryan Day. Basically saying, look, if Ryan Day doesn't win at all, he's canned. So Herbstreit said, First Take, what are they going to say now? They wanted him fired. Well, then Shannon Sharp, I don't know. I mean, he got up there and gave a weird, like empty, vague threat kind of.
Stephen A.
He kind of gave like as if he was going to like, I don't know, take out game day or something like that, which two things to me. This is what's so funny to me. I disagree wholeheartedly with Herbstreit and game day. However, First Take is arguably the worst show on the entire network. I mean, it's gotten so bad. And I saw a lot of people commenting on it and like, we really got to stop letting ESPN cover football at all. Like, it's gotten so bad. And supposedly they like called each other and apologized or whatever, but it's like, really, that's where we're at now. And that's what you get, ESPN, for making your entire network about hot takes and sound bites and viral clips instead of Stuart Scott up there showing highlights of every single game and every single sport that happened for the first 3 hours of the day. That's what they get. But anyway.
No, I've enjoyed every moment of it. I hadn't quite followed along with every clip, but I saw Shannon's clip and then Kirk had something to say back, and yeah, man, it's just this is what you get when you've completely changed your model of what made you successful of covering sports. And I mean, half the time I don't even know what they're talking about. They're talking about the latest trend, or you know, they went real woke for a while, and now they're trying to dial it back. And I mean, they're financially not in a good spot, so they fired all their good talent. They went other places. So this is what they get. But you're seeing it also now at the NFL level. We talked yesterday. Jeff Saturday was like, we don't want to see Bo Nix in the playoffs. It's like, I don't care what you want to see. It's who deserves to be in the spot. Like this is how sports have worked forever. Like whoever has the best record, whoever deserves to be there, whoever's won their division, and then you got the wild card in the NFL. Like why all of a sudden is this now a problem? Like I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because the NFL, as much as I'll sit up here and talk about how college football is 10 times better than the NFL to watch, and I still believe that, but in this country, and it always has been, the NFL is king. I mean, the NFL can put a game on a college football night. They can put a game on an NBA day. They can put a game on a World Series day, and it's going to take the ratings. It's going to be the one that people watch regardless of who's playing, outside of maybe the Bears and Seahawks. I mean, my God, did you see that final score, 6-3?
I did not watch a single snap of that game.
No, me either. I cut the score, though. But anyway, you know, yeah, the NFL is like the one league that never like it's like they always get it right. You know what I mean? I mean, there's always right now there's a big debate around the NBA. Why aren't people watching? And you know, whatever. Maybe it's because they force fed us LeBron and Steph Curry for the past 20 years. Maybe they haven't had any new stars they've kind of anointed. But whatever. It's like the NFL is the one league that's like everybody watches, and the NFL playoffs especially, everybody's watching. And so, you know, I don't know. Yeah, it's like last year, the Dolphins. It's a perfect example. Last year, the Dolphins were sitting there with the damn 1 seed, but they lost one game, and then they drop all the way to like the 8. And instead of having a home game, they got to go to Kansas City and play. And guess what? Terrible weather. And guess what happens? They get their ass kicked. And nobody, not one single soul, had that comment after that game like, oh, we should, you know, we got to stop looking at we got to start looking at divisions because the Dolphins, you know, made it this, and we should have known they couldn't play. And nobody said that. Everybody said, well, Dolphins should have figured out how to run the ball. Tua, you got to figure out how to throw it in cold weather. And they say this crap in college football, and it's I know we've been talking about it for weeks, and I'm honestly getting tired of it because I feel like we're talking about Alabama and Ole Miss more than we've talked about them for 4 years, Jeff. But I don't know. It's really wild.
Well, blowouts happen in every sport.
In
the
Super
playoffs.
Bowls, I saw Troy Aikman said.
Yeah, so it's just this notion that I want the 12 best teams. You're making that subjective then, because then you're just discounting the regular season, conference champs, like all the things that are tangible stats, wins and losses that you can account for, not just some guy sitting in a room saying that this team is the best team and they should be in. So there's nothing new about, especially first round blowouts in the playoffs. And quite frankly, there's been blowouts throughout history in championship games. So let's stop all this nonsense. Like, guys, we're smart enough as a human race to figure this out.
Are we?
And the fact, well, I'm starting to think maybe not.
We've smoked so much weed, Jeff. I don't think we can.
That's exactly. Our brain cells are fried. No, guys, come on. We can figure this out. It's not rocket science, man. Let's figure out a system that works, whether it's half computer generated, BCS style, and then you get a couple of people. There's got to be a way to figure it out where you're taking away from the things that are happening on the field, the players that are busting their ass, making good plays, whether it's the team that's doing the drubbing or the one that's getting drubbed. They're players that deserve to be discussed and talked about, but yet all we're doing is talking about they do belong or don't belong, or this team doesn't. Like you're taking away from the actual game.
Yeah, and the whole point of a lot of this was to make the regular season mean more. And to me it did. I mean, you had teams that you would never even think about a game being super meaningful in week 13, 14. I mean, you had that Tulane Memphis game on the final week of the season.
Huge.
Was a playoff game. You got to be kidding me. If not for the expanded playoff, that game's like, yeah, I mean, I guess home field in the American is nice, but the average person doesn't care about that. But now, if that game has playoff implications, of course people are going to watch it. That's why the Mountain West Championship was the most viewed Mountain West Championship ever this past year, because it was a playoff game.
Yep.
And it had meaning. And I want to say one other thing on this before we move on, because we kind of got a lot to talk about. But, you know, one of the things is I was going through clips of Herb Street and these idiots. You know, after Alabama lost to Vandy, everybody was talking about, oh, this would never have happened. Kalen DeBoer, blah, 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 blah. And Nick Saban himself got up there and he's like, well, I think we're forgetting it. When I retired, they had 23 guys get in the portal. So then they were like, he was like, this is not the same roster. I'm like, okay, fair. But then which one is it? Because if you're talking about all this talent and all these guys, but a couple of weeks ago you said they don't have it anymore, then again, it's pick one. It's the same argument as when they say, oh, you know, SEC this, oh, but Texas, they didn't play anybody. Oh, well, then which one is it? Is only half the SEC good? It was Alabama, you know, did they lose those guys or did they not?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, if that's an excuse to keep the coach, and again, for the Alabama fans, and they might be one of the most delusional bunch out there. It's well, which one is it? Do you want to fire the coach because they didn't perform, or should they still have do you think they made the playoffs? I bet you the AD sitting there thinking like, yeah, I wish we made the playoffs, but I don't know, man. Saban didn't lose 3 games. So I don't know, but it is pretty funny to watch all their personalities kind of just have this meltdown when things, and then you got like the kind of independent, the Clay Travises of the world, which his takes I find the funniest, because Clay Travis prides himself on being this like anti-big media guy, right? Anti-liberal media. He's this, and I'm like, buddy, you are it. You are exactly what you think you hate on the football side.
Yeah.
But that's because he's a Tennessee fan, and he can't. They're unable to put it past.
They can't help themselves.
That's what it is. They can't put their bias away to be a neutral commentator on the thing. But it's been great. Now, for the love of God, we just need Boise State to put on a show because otherwise they're gonna forget everything that just happened this past week, and it's all gonna be group of five.
That's exactly right.
We need Arizona State. As much as I don't really particularly care for them, we need them to play well. We need Boise State to play well. Otherwise, their argument's going to get stronger because they're going to disregard the fact that of what happened last week.
Yep.
Yeah, and then of course, we tweeted it out. Even when it was BCS, there was blowouts. There was like 50% of the BCS national championship games were like 3 touchdown blowouts. Bama beat Notre Dame by 100. Miami beat Nebraska by 100. LSU beat Ohio State. I mean, it's like, this is not new. Anyway, other news, really kind of related to Group of 5, but you see Miami's basketball coach retired. Jim Larinaga, a legend. He's the head coach of George Mason when they made the Final Four run back in the day. And then, of course, he's been at Miami when they just made their Final Four run. But he resigned, and he had a press conference, and he basically said, it's NIL. I can't do it. I'm tired. I can't do it. He's an older guy.
Yeah.
But, he basically said what a lot of people have been saying. He's like, you can't keep up. He said, we made a Final Four run at Miami, and in my exit interviews, 8 players got in the portal. And they all said, no, yeah, we love it here, but there's more money somewhere else.
It's crazy. All these old heads are going to start getting out.
Yep.
And it's sad because you got some really great coaches that are going to get out of the sport when they're probably not ready. But it's hard to blame them. I mean, when you're talking about affecting, young men and building a culture and teaching them something for life and building a program, you can't do it anymore. Even if you have an Ohio State budget, really, it's still hard to do that. And somebody's got to step in and put some regulations on this. I feel like it's so easy. Just the transfer rule alone would solve a lot of this. And then put your cap, on the NIL, and it's out of control.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that he said too on his way out was like, make them employees and pay them a reasonable salary. And then you're not dealing with this every year, every semester, a new place, a new deal kind of thing. I don't know. I've noticed some of the social media around it has been, it used to be, player X commits to so-and-so school. He's expected to land somewhere around this much in NIL. Well, now it's become so-and-so signs $3 million deal at this school. It's like, well, it's not really how it was supposed to be, but I think we'll see some stuff. I think, you get some of these kind of legendary coaches calling it quits. I mean, let's be real. That's why Saban left.
100%.
I mean, that's 100%. Now, part of it might be he realized, well, we're not going to be able to dominate the way we've dominated. So let me step out while I'm ahead. But same deal. I think if you get guys like that in a room and kind of discuss, I think you can make some change. Now, for all the talk about blowouts, Jeff, in the playoff first round, the non-playoff games have been unbelievable awesome this week. I mean, outside of the Myrtle Beach Bowl where UTSA, went down there and put a whooping on Coastal a little bit. I mean, you have the NIU Fresno game goes to double overtime. You have San Jose State and South Florida goes to 5 overtime. So yesterday, Toledo and Pitt go to 6 overtimes. And then you get a shootout with Bowling Green and Arkansas State last night. I mean, they've been good. I mean, that Toledo Pitt game
was awesome.
Was awesome. Now, Pitt's coach, of course, kind of hightailed it to the locker room without shaking hands or anything. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But again, don't tell me these bowl games don't mean anything to these coaches and these players, because they are these games have been chippy. I mean, we saw how chippy it was down in Orlando. The Toledo Pitt game was chippy. I mean, it's been good. It's been fun, man.
No, I've enjoyed it. And for every bowl season, you're seeing this more and more now with kids getting in the portal, not playing. You're getting some just young kids who are getting an opportunity and getting to make something happen. You look at UTSA's, blowout, but almost all their running backs were guys that really didn't get any time this year.
Yeah.
And they all played well. So, you're getting some young talent, getting them an opportunity, some hungry kids who want to make a statement. To me, it's the bowl games are becoming more about that. Is like a freshman, sophomore showcase, so to speak. And you're getting a peek into hopefully the next season if some of these kids stay around. But plenty of young talent on these rosters. All they needed was an opportunity, and they're making it happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's for those guys, that's a route you can go, right? If you're the second or third guy on the depth chart and everybody gets in the portal after the season and you hang out, that's your shot. Look, hey, I'm going to play in this bowl game and show this coaching staff that in spring, I want to be number 1 on the depth chart, or at least number 2 and fighting for it. And honestly, it helps these coaches evaluate. There's a lot of guys that do well in practice that can't play in a game, or there's a lot of guys that aren't very good at practice, but they'll show out in a game. So you kind of know what you have as they go and recruit the portal or JUCO or high school kids of what they need. And they might think, oh, actually, we got a guy we didn't think we were going to have. And then shout out, dude, NIU. Thomas Hammock is funny, man.
He's great.
He is, that clip of him a few years ago keeps going around, where he was kind of like dancing on the sideline. And then he has this quote after they dumped the French fries on him. He says, a little bit salty, but that was the best dump of my career. I mean, he's fantastic. And then he's kind of put his name on the public in the public light after they beat Notre Dame. But man, shout out to NIU. That's a good season. He's one, too, that's been very vocal about evaluating and recruiting high school kids. So shout out to NIU. They call it the hard way there. And they do it, man. But they've had another decent season. And then you go to the Hawaii Bowl in South Florida, and San Jose State go to 5 overtimes. Now, Jeff, I want to ask you this question. Do you like the new overtime rules? Like where they got to go to the 2-point conversion?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I do like it. It speeds it up, and I think it's plenty enough time at this point where you can, what is it? Is it the start of the 4th overtime that it you go to the 2-point conversion? I'm good with it because at that point, you've had 3 periods now of being able to figure out how to score from 20 and in, and you've either mastered it or you hadn't scored. So I kind of like it. It speeds it up, and it's kind of like, bang, bang, you know what you need to get. And if you don't get it, ball game. And man, that Pitt game last night, I know that was not Avery Johnson. I can't think of the cornerback's name. Maybe it was him. Held on the play before. Yeah. But I was like, man, the receiver just ran and turned around and wasn't even running a route. Like, why are you grabbing the guy?
I know. It almost to me looked like he was about to fall or something, and he kind of grabbed him. But then, of course, their quarterback's 30 yards in the backfield running away. And then, that series was tough because they won. They thought they won. They ran on the field, got called back. Then they get the goal line stand. They thought they start celebrating again, and then that gets overturned. I think, both probably the right, both the right call, probably. Man, shout out to Toledo getting it done.
Yeah. So we're
getting it done there.
Group of 5 is 3-1.
3-1 so far. You got a chance. Oklahoma and Navy today. An interesting one. I want to talk a little bit about the South Florida game because, there's been a lot of. They had high expectations this year. My South Florida Bulls did. But preseason we saw that schedule. And we knew that little 4-game stretch was going to be tough for them. And they lost all of those games. But this team, the previous 3 years, was 4-29. And only one of those 4 wins was against an FBS opponent. And that was Temple. Okay. So all their other wins, it was like Howard, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. It was like the Florida HBCU schools. So, goalless now has won 7 games in back-to-back seasons. And if you look at this year outside of that schedule, the Rice game was probably the only game that you could look at and be like, yeah, we should have been better than Rice. We should have won that game. But outside of that, Memphis, Tulane, Navy, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Miami, where, you want to win those games. But at the same time, you knew that was going to be the tough part of your schedule, and you knew it was going to be a battle to get through it. And they didn't. They lost them all. Now, you go into this coming year, and you look at the schedule, and you got to think, okay, if we have a stretch like that again, can we split it? Can we win 2 out of those 4? Can we not lose the Rice game? Now we're a 10-win team, just like that. And so I think I get it. That's the problem with expectations, man. And they get to be, it's the problem with overachieving. They overachieved last year, and then they get some guys, and you get all this expectation, and then it doesn't pan out the way you wanted it to, and you're ready to pull the trigger on the guy. It's like, well, now wait a minute,
Yeah.
That guy just rescued your program. So I don't know. And then we'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the Bulls are in a good spot. They got a great coach. They got the facilities. It seems like they have some money to go get, attract players and retain players to the NIL. So they just, I don't care what team it is. That stretch they had this season was absolutely brutal. And physically they were beat up. And that plays such a toll that I think people don't really understand is when you play a stretch like that, you don't have probably 4 or 5 top players at that point. The quarterback got hurt, offensive lineman got hurt, a couple skill guys got hurt, and that's your team. One of the issues that the group of 5 has is depth, lack of depth, a big drop off from 1 to 2. So when you have even your top players, especially when your quarterback goes down for a game or two, or is just not healthy, like that is tough to overcome. So yeah, if they can win a couple of those games in the future, and I don't think they're going to have a stretch like that again going forward, but I think the Bulls are in a good spot. They just need to keep building on it and give that staff the time they need to try and do their best in this day and age to build a culture to keep it moving forward.
Yeah, well, it seems like they've got the investment. They should be able to get some guys in the portal again. They're building the on-campus stadium. It's a good spot to be. Good spot to be. Tampa's a booming, city right now. So, Jeff, we got to talk about Harold Fannin, man. That guy.
He's a dog.
That guy's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They lost to Arkansas State, but everybody outside of Terrion Stewart played in that game, huh?
No, Stewart played. He had 6 carries.
He did play. Well, he's in the portal. How about
he had
that?
6 carries for 8 yards. They couldn't run the
did.
ball for nothing. I mean, a total of 46 yards running, but you look at Fannin, my God.
He went over 200.
I mean, 17 receptions, 213 yards, and a touchdown. Was it like, we're going to show he's the best tight end in the country?
Yeah,
we're just going to put him in every advantageous situation and get him the rock. And, man, he showed out.
Yeah.
But you got to give credit to Arkansas State, though.
Yeah, you do.
Jalen Raynor.
8 wins. 8 wins for the Red Wolves.
It's huge.
That's a big-time season for them. Again, this is what we used to always say about stock, right? We'd look at these schedules and you'd look at, a Big Ten opponent, a defending national champion, an SEC opponent, a Memphis type or a big time, a James Madison type. And you'd be like, okay, like you're giving this guy that schedule. They win 8 or 9 games. Like that's a big time season. You got to say the same thing for a lot of these guys. A team like Arkansas State, I think who they play, Oklahoma, I think earlier in the year. So they had a tough schedule in again, and this is not to
Michigan,
disrespect any
Iowa
program.
State were both ranked when they played them. 2 losses back to back.
Yeah. Well, these are, this is not to disrespect Arkansas State or middle or whatever, but you don't have the expectation of winning those games, right? This is not Boise State or Tulane or a Memphis where like you're expected to beat your Power 4 opponents, especially now. Again, like we always say, big difference between Michigan and these guys playing middle versus playing one of these guys, and typically they won't schedule one of the top, group of 5 schools. But anyway, shout out to the Red Wolves, big win. You got a game today. You got Oklahoma versus Navy today. That's the Armed Forces Bowl. Now, I can tell you from experience, Jeff, when you're not an armed forces, when you're not a military school playing in that game, it's a week-long pep rally for Navy. Now, Oklahoma, I don't know. They got a big enough brand that they're probably getting some love too. But, man, when we went down there and played Navy, that was like great bowl game, okay? Great. We did a lot of cool stuff. But every, event that both teams were together was awful. Like, bro, they, first of all, right? So I'm going to give a couple of examples. So first of all, we played Navy, first Navy. This was 2012, I guess it was. And Roger Staubach is like the, grandmaster or whatever. Like he's like the guest speaker at this big, and of course he played at freaking Navy. So his speech, he's like putting up highlight footage of himself like running all over middle in 1950 or wherever the hell it was. And he's like, look at them trying to get us. And we're like, bro, we're here too, man. Like we're at this dinner too. And then like the director of the bowl was like, okay, so Rick Stockstill, pretty standard, easy American name, is our coach. Ken Niumatalolo is their coach. Middle Tennessee, pretty easy to say. So the director gets up there and is like, I think he called Stock like Bill Stockwell or something like that. And then he said like, I don't know what he said instead of Middle Tennessee, but it was like Middleton or something like off the wall.
The name.
And butchered his name and the team's name. And then he's like, we're Kenny Mataloma, like all fired up. And we're just like, wow, dude, like you really don't want us here, huh? And then of course the game gets going. And that was you would talk about a chippy game. And I remember Blunt got thrown out of the game.
Did.
He poked some kid in the eye or something like that. But anyway, again, that's nobody saw the week leading up to that game of us just getting like shit on by everybody involved. So anyway, good luck to Oklahoma, but they have a big enough brand. They'll get respected there.
Yeah. So down in Texas.
And yeah, exactly. They'll probably have a bigger crowd too than Navy will. Then you have the Isetta, New Mexico Bowl. Cajuns playing TCU. Another chance. You got that one. You got the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. I bet you those hotels are well prepared for the weed smoking to happen.
No question.
I mean, you got Colorado, you got a team from Colorado, and you got Snoop Dogg as the sponsor. I mean, come on now.
That was the one that used to be
the Barstool
Bowl. That's right.
Yeah. So they've probably been getting after it since that bowl's been in existence.
No question. No, I'm actually excited for that bowl game. Those
Miami, Colorado State one.
Yeah, I think those are two.
Yeah, I like that matchup.
Good programs going at it. Good weather. Should be good weather down there. So
I'll tell you which one I like is this ECU NC State little in-state rivalry matchup in the Go Bowling Military Bowl. Hey, Blake Harrell's got the job now. Is he going to get those guys locked in to get a big win? So those are your three that are left. Navy, Oklahoma, TCU, Louisiana, ECU, NC State. You're 3-1. You also, of course, got Boise and Penn State, but 3-1. I mean, I think we can come out of this thing 5-2 or something like that.
Absolutely.
I think we can do it.
I think that ECU game's going to be sneaky good, just because a lot of those players are going to know each other.
Yeah.
Just regional. I don't want to say rivalry, but it kind of is, I think.
Yeah. And then of course you got the Army La Tech game. My immediate thought is like Army's going to blast them, but then, Army's kind of got this weird, at least their fans do, this weird kind of thing of, man, like we just won the American and we thought we were going to get Marshall, but we're going to get, like Army's like, we just beat Tulane and Tulane gets to go play Florida and Tampa and we got to go play La Tech and Shreveport.
Yeah.
A little bit of that, like, don't want to be here thing. But Monken does a pretty good job keeping them locked in. La Tech, however, is probably going to be fired the hell up to be there. They weren't even going to get a bowl.
Yeah, but I think physically Army's a better team. They're more physical at the point of attack. I got to see La Tech. They played our middle down in Ruston, and then getting to see Army late in the year. Army's going to have all their guys other than Kanye Udo.
Yeah,
they're going to be ready. I think they're going to roll that game.
Hey, probably. I think so too. Well, Jeff, you ready to talk about the Verbo Fiesta Bowl a little bit?
Can't wait to get down there, man. I get down there Sunday. I'm going to try and hit up the Boise State little media, press conference. I'll keep you guys posted. Try and get some video, maybe some audio. Excited, man.
Yeah. Well, Penn State's 11-point favorites, over under at 52.5 at the moment. First of all, I can't wait. I mean, this is the biggest game I've ever, sporting event I think I've ever been to. I mean, I'm trying to think. I've been to some Marlins and Heat playoff games. Dolphins haven't had a home playoff game. Probably, they have, but since I've been old enough to like really go. But this is going to be, you know how these games are. These big bowl games are like, you're kind of standing out there and it's just, the buzz is ridiculous at games like this. And I'm nervous today. I'm nervous on Friday. They don't play for 5 days. And I'm certainly not stepping anywhere near the damn field. Well, in that regard, but I'm nervous. I'm anxious about it already. I just want it needs to get here quick.
It's been, I mean, Boise, they've talked about it in the press conference. Is the extra time off, is that going to help? Is it going to hurt? I think it's going to help as far as health wise goes for some of the players, but you can't afford to take a quarter to get reacclimated to a football game. So they're going to have to come out and be ready to rock and roll. I think Spencer Danielson's done a phenomenal job taking over this program. I think having Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator is going to pay dividends. Just his experience overall, especially the NFL experience, having a long season, those sort of things. But I can't wait to get down there. My sister lives down there, so I'm going to get to spend some time with her, see her baby, and then do all the Fiesta Bowl festivities, all the ones we're allowed to get to. But our media credentials got approved, so we'll be on the field for the game. Taking videos, taking pictures. I mean, it's gonna be electric. What are you thinking? Initial thoughts for the game?
Well, Jeff, my initial thought is let's just hypothetically say Penn State, as a play going down the sideline wide open. I may stick my foot out. I mean, the worst it could be is a 15-yard penalty. I get tossed, but then viral. We reset the defense, and I'll be a hero.
You will be, and we'll go viral. I mean,
I'll go down in Boise State lore if that happens, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding. I'd never do anything like that. But here's where I'm at on this, Jeff. Matchup wise, Penn State's run defense is pretty stout. Obviously, Boise can run it. Genty says he's as fresh as he's been since week 1, so that's a good thing. Should be getting. I need to go look and see what their O-line looks like right now. I know they were getting their center back towards the Mountain West Championship, so he should be back fully healthy. Should have some O-line guys healthy. The question is, what will they try to do? Will they stack the box and just try to shut it down? Or do they think that they can match up in their regular defense and stop the run? And then the question is, what adjustments are made either way, right? If Penn State stacks the box and, Madsen can exploit it a little bit, does Penn State adjust? And then does Boise, if Penn State doesn't stack the box and Boise's not able to run it well, it's going to be a long night probably. But what adjustments are going to be made? And then on the other side of the ball for Boise State, when they're on defense, they've got to pressure the quarterback without having to bring extra all the time. You go look at that Oregon game, they brought a ton of blitzes, and that's when everybody said, well, Oregon's O-line was, whatever. They were trying to figure it out at that point. Because if they have to keep bringing extra, then that little tight end at Penn State's going to carve them up. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm a little worried that they're going to have to bring extra to put pressure on. Now, the other part of that is for Boise State, that defensive backfield, we've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, is a little bit suspect. They can give up some big plays relatively often. So depending on what Boise State has to do to get pressure on the quarterback is going to show what matchups, what situations are those defensive backs going to be in? Are they going to be forced to play tight man because they're bringing a ton of pressure, or can they kind of sit there and hope Hassanin and those guys can get there by themselves? That's the question. Either way, I think you got to get pressure. Whatever you got to do to get pressure and make Aller get rid of it quickly, because otherwise I don't think you match up in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, and I think this, as most games, it's going to be one at the point of attack, right? That Penn State offensive line, you got one of the best rushing attacks, in the Big Ten. They're physical up front. Are they going to just come out and try and impose their will against a smaller defensive line in Boise State? That's what I would do if I was Penn State, is come out, really pound the rock, and then go play action and get the ball to Tyler Warren and those guys on the outside. He's a mismatch nightmare. I don't think anybody's going to be able to really guard him one-on-one. Hassanin has to come up big. He's got to be able to get around the edge. He's got to be able to affect Aller. But again, if they're not able to at least manage Penn State's run game and keep it, keep the explosive plays off the board, it's going to be a long night. But then on the flip side, how you counter that is control time of possession.
Yeah.
Don't turn it over. And you have the best running back in the country.
Yeah.
Use him. You're going to have to get creative. I think Cutter will get creative and not just be predictable and just every time get there, hand it off. But you're going to have to, he's got to get 30 touches. He has to. He gets 30. Stronger. He gets stronger as the game goes on. Defenses end up wearing down. Like he's why you're here. Use him. Whether, it's not, he can break 199 yards at any point. Use him. And then Matson, he's just got to play point guard. He can't get flustered. He's done a good job of protecting the ball pretty much all year. He's going to get favorable matchups. I really think that they're going to they're going to try and take the life out of Boise. They're going to bring pressure, especially on running plays. So he's going to have to make some plays. Be smart. Just be on time. Make good throws, and they'll have a shot.
I think I anticipate them trying to get Genty the ball in the pass game a little bit.
They need to.
Yeah, because he can do it. I mean, that's one of the things that makes him so good is he's got the threat of everything. And then on other times, I think he's gonna have to block his ass off now in the pass game. So and we've talked about this has been Boise State's recipe for the season. After everybody found out how good Genty was and that run game was, can Madsen just not turn it over, take the easy throw? They got guys. I think those guys, Camper and Cable, those guys, they're a little bit disrespected. I think they're better than most people think. I like Louder, the tight end, and now he's no Fannin, he's no, he's no Tyler Warren, but he's a good player, and I think he's going to be a key safety net for Madsen in this game. Again, it's completely different players. I understand that he's not Fannin. But Fannin had a field day against Penn State. Field day. But I think if you're so focused on Genty running the ball and catching it out of the backfield, I think there should be some easy 6-7 yard plays for Louder, the tight end. I mean, he's only getting like 3 or 4 catches a game. You got to up that to like 6 or 7 maybe. Funny enough, though, Drew Aller, Penn State's quarterback, is kind of, you got him and Madsen is like the question mark of this game. But Madsen has thrown 1 more touchdown than Aller has, and he's thrown 4 less interceptions than Aller has. Madsen, if you just look at touchdown to interception, he's been very good. Now, you go and watch the games, and he's had some throws that you're like, oh, that should have been picked. Or, and he's got some more incompletions, like his completion ratio is not as, his completion percentage is not as good as Aller's. But I think if he's just smart, take what's there. He had some big plays against Oregon. Genty had a big game, but they also used Genty as a decoy quite often. So I don't know, man. I'm like, this is what happens to me when I have a real rooting interest in a game. Okay. It's like I do this for Heat games, for Dolphins game. I'm very in negative thinking in my fandom. And so I'm very nervous about it. But I also think we're going to find out real quick about how this game's going to go. I think you'll be able to kind of tell what kind of game it's going to be after like the first 2 drives each team has. I think you're going to know like, oh boy, this is going to be a long night, or, oh, this is going to be a hell of a game. So,
yeah, I think Boise's got to weather the storm. I think Penn State's going to come out with their hair on fire. I think it's going to be a rowdy environment. I assume Penn State's going to travel. It's a long way, but I think they'll travel and just handle that initial like 5 to 8 minutes of that first quarter, and everybody will settle in. Everything will settle in. But what you can't do is have the moment be too big right off the moment, and you make a mistake, and now you're down 7-0 or 14-0, and you put yourself in a hole where you can't run your offense. That's what can happen. And we talked about that defensive front for Penn State. Mattson was asked about it at media day. They were still in Boise yesterday, but at Fiesta Bowl, kind of like media press conference. Let's listen to it.
What do you see from their defensive front?
I mean, their defensive front is obviously extremely good. Those guys move at high, like at an elite level for sure. You see all those guys that are big bodies, but the twitchiness that they come and play with, they're physical. They understand the physicality of the game and the speed of it. But I do know that our front is excelled in that position. Physicality is something that Boise State's built on. And so those guys will get after it and have a good week of practice to prepare for that.
I love that right there. I love that he's like, we're not going to shy away from it. Our front is just as physical as they are, and that's what we're built on. So it's going to be, I think they're going to come out and try and punch him in the mouth. Was it going to work or not? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Matson's funny, man. Yeah. He just reminds me like a guy. He's just like, man, hey, man, I'm playing quarterback for Boise State. I'm happy as hell to be here, man. That's what he reminds me of, dude.
Speaking of Boise State, Malachi Nelson took a trip to UTEP recently.
Interesting.
Number 1 quarterback in the country at one point. They could use a good quarterback.
Just taking recruiting visits in the middle of a playoff run, huh? That's where we are in society today, Jeff.
Yes, we are.
I don't know. So we don't know yet, you guys, if we're gonna do a show from there. More than likely not. I mean, we've gotten good enough access, okay, at this point. So I think we're gonna probably just like count our blessings and not ask for more. But we may do one. We may do one. I get there Monday. So Monday we won't have our normal show like this because I'll be traveling. Jeff will already be there. And then Wednesday we'll be traveling back New Year's Day. So next show like this will be Friday, more than likely next week. We may do something. Now, let me tell you something. If Boise State wins this ball game, Glendale, Arizona, on New Year's Eve, Jeff and we might just live stream the whole thing. We might live stream the whole thing. And I will be acting as if I am a Boise State alumnus. I mean, I will be just belligerent in the Boise State fan world. But, man, I can't wait. I can't wait to get down there. I'm glad. It's not often we get to get there like a full day early when we go to some of these games and stuff. So I'm excited. I'm hoping, Monday we can link up with some Boise State fans at, wherever they deem as the Boise State, official sports bar. Chop it up with those people, see how we're feeling. And also, you're going to get a good gauge the night before when you're kind of out and about of what that crowd's going to look like. Yeah. You're going to know if it's a Penn State takeover or a Boise State takeover or 50-50 or what. So can't wait to get down there. I don't know. I'm not going to make a pick here because my emotions will just tell me I'm picking Boise State.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man.
We're both going to pick Boise. So
yeah,
there's no real point on officially making a pick.
I do think I like plus 11 though.
I do
think I like that.
I'll see.
We'll talk. We'll talk offline, as they say in the corporate world, Jeff. Well, we got a couple of voicemails. Let's get to those before we cut out of here and let everybody enjoy their weekend.
Let's get to it.
Group of 5 guys, Iverson, Reed here. More or less really nothing positive to take away from the bowl game. Pretty much anything that went wrong. It was a when it rains it pours type of day. But really the takeaway is that Beck has a lot of work to do in this off season to win back the fan base, because right now it's gone. The first losing season in I'm not sure how many years. Not a lot in its 22, 23-year history, but yeah, some changes are gonna have to be made for this to right the ship. And a tweet that was made by Sean Talk is something I really agree with. They were saying, yeah, the landscape of college sports sucks right now. We all know this, but for a coach to complain this much about it screams incompetence to adapt. Let fans complain about it. You're paid $1 million a year to figure it out. Make it work or resign. And I agree with that. Yeah, it's not good right now, but it's your job to, navigate this and figure this out. And another tweet that got my attention was a tweet by Telly. He was saying that 31 plus players in the portal from a 6-6 team with minimal staff turnover is ridiculous and should be alarming. Then they were alleging that this is more of a cultural issue and staffing issue more so than it just being a result of the whole thing being just a landscape of college football. So I am interested in what their thought is on that. But yeah, just bad way to end the season, just overall bad year, and hopefully we can just really turn things around in the next season. Merry Christmas. Thank you for what you guys do. God bless Group of 5 guys.
Appreciate you, Iverson. Yeah, not a good way to finish the year, especially getting blown out like that. Like a pretty embarrassing loss
at home, technically.
Yeah, at home. They got some things to figure out. I agree with the points that you brought up. I don't think that's a great sign that you have that many players in the portal. And I could see the point as well of, yeah, you are getting paid $1 million. Like, whether you like it or not is irrelevant. This is the space that we're in. You better start being able to figure out. But I don't think, they had that collective that went under. So I don't know if they have, I don't know what type of space for NIL, deals and money to come into is. Now rev sharing starts in July, but most schools still at least have a collective that are helping supplement that. And if they don't have one, that's a big disadvantage.
Well, Coastal's got to get back. I know this wasn't necessarily the Beck regime, but when they kind of stepped on the scene during the COVID year with Chadwell and that, I think they've got to embrace that. Myrtle Beach, kind of have some fun. We're a little ratchet at times, talk a little trash at times. I think they got to embrace that. And I think you could attract a certain kind of kid if you're willing to embrace that villain that, we just have a ton of fun here. Like, we're going to win and have a ton of fun. I think they got to kind of embrace that. But yeah, and on the coaching side, I think that's why you're starting to see, you see the Coach Primes, the Mike Vick, everybody's kind of trying. I saw Deshaun Jackson is looking like that was out of left field. But I think you're going to start seeing more of the, not only younger, but former player, not necessarily been any kind of coach before. Because I think guys like that, everybody's going to want to copy the Dion model, the Prime model. And now nobody does it like him. Nobody's ever done it like him. That guy's been that way since he was, doing the Yankee shuffle in the end zones and stuff like that. But I think guys, former players like that, number one, they got some deep pockets already, so they can probably help with their contract. But then I think the energy that they can bring, and certain kids are going to want to go play for that guy. And then I think it energizes the fan base. Wherever you're at, it's going to energize them. It's a
shot of life.
Yeah. And then your donors, again, you just need one spark, man. You need one big chunk of change, gets you one quarterback, gets you one good season. And then you got to capitalize on that stuff.
Yeah, but appreciate you, Iverson. Thanks for calling in. Hope you have a happy new year, my friend. Let's get to our last one.
Hey, boys. Just right from Twitter. May or may not. I just come home from a Christmas party. I did. Spoiler alert. But just wanted to call and say Merry Christmas to all of you, even the haters, especially Creme Brulee and Steeple and all those guys. Anyways, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Everybody's happy and healthy, and it's a wonderful time. Happy New Year, and thank you for all you do.
Good to hear from you, Stu.
Amen to that, Stu. Hope everybody, I didn't even open the show with that. I hope everybody had an awesome, very Merry Christmas. I got to go down there, see my nephews and niece, who I don't see very often, see my parents, who I also don't see as often as I'd like. And I'll tell you this, a little pro tip for everybody. If you drive when you travel, do your traveling on the holiday or like Christmas. Like we drove back home on Christmas Eve and we just did all the celebrating like the 23rd or whatever it was. I mean, no traffic. I went straight from Fort Lauderdale to back up here to Columbus.
Did you really?
Straight shot, buddy.
Wow.
With the kids, with the dogs. I mean, we stopped, of course,
for
gas and food and all that, but yeah, dude, no traffic at all. Like I was real worried because you saw that traffic in Orlando, and I was real worried. That's what always happens to me is I'm rolling along, and then like 4 hours in, I get just like kind of right in the middle of Orlando, and then I get delayed like an hour, and it just sets the whole trip back because then you're like, I could have been there by now. Yeah. You're still in Valdosta or something like that. But yeah, man, great time. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Jeff, I see you got a new design in the background there, pal.
I do. Once I'm gonna get it tuned up, and it's like a little LED display. My wife made it for me for Christmas. It's awesome.
That's big time stuff.
Moving up in the world.
So all I need now is a Boise State win, and my Christmas will be complete. My 2024 will be complete. Wouldn't it be something, Jeff? Well, although it's going to be a way different time in Arizona, if like the ball drops on the East Coast, right as Ashton Genty's hitting a walk-off overtime touchdown or something like that, wouldn't it be? And then I just hope. I mean, double birds to all the networks, double birds to everybody on every platform that's been talking all about this. Everybody that said, it was a G5 spot was guaranteed to be the 12 spot. Remember that? Remember those debates? Remember all of that? Everybody that's thinking this is going to be a blowout. We just need to show out, Jeff. But hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody has a great, prosperous New Year. Maybe we'll do a New Year's resolution show next week, Jeff. But we thank you guys for watching and listening. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and review, and tell your family and friends all about us. Hopefully, we'll see you live on New Year's Eve from Glendale, Arizona, celebrating a Boise State win. God bless Group of Five Guys. God bless Group of Five. We're out of here.